Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give out praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Kakadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel, broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is Akim Mahaloya coming back with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's will to be edifying. The video you saw was stated 300,000 troops, NATO troops in Ukraine. Basically World War III. Now, it's a lot of controversy about World War III because we know that the whole Ukrainian conflict, which kicked off last year due to the West's dominance and the West's illegitimate raiding of lands and resources and setting up biolabs, etc., has caused nations to retaliate against a weakening dollar. Now, people fail to realize that though the war in Ukraine is building up tension between the East and the West, okay, NATO, the EU, and then you got the Eastern Bloc or the former USSR, Russia, and their particular allies, you have to still keep your eye on Israel, man, okay, because the scriptures go into the least of the flock should draw them out. And we know that even though Ukraine is over there in the region, the World War III is not going to take place in Ukraine, okay? But it's going to take place down in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is what they call the Fertile Crescent, or the in that Middle Eastern region, which there's really no such thing as a Middle East. Okay, you have 4 parts of the world. You have Europe, Asia, Africa, and you have the West. Those are the 4 parts. There's no such thing as Middle East. Okay, the Middle East terminology came about doing particular trades and commerce and attempt to establish a particular landmarks as to exporting goods from the Mediterranean into Western dominance. But there's no such thing as Middle East, okay? The land of Israel, what they consider the Middle East, is because for the simple fact it harbors particular those continents. But to be technically honest, the land of Israel is located in Asia, okay? It's where you get the term Asiatic black man from, which Asian just means of the East. That's all it means, man. Okay? But before we jump the gun, okay, World War III, we definitely, we're in the escalate. We're in honestly speaking, I say we was in World War III. Technically, when the Soviet Union collapsed, shortly after World War II, and then you had the collapse of the Soviets. Okay, the 80s and the early 90s, and then, you know, you had the Gulf War, etc. We've been in World War III for over 30 years, man. But, you know, things had to lead up into a build-up as to what you're seeing now, because right now, by the U.S. or the Western hegemonies failing due to a collapsing dollar, you got the NATO and the EU forces, mainly the EU forces, that's not on board with this whole dollar crisis thing. So we can kind of see exactly how these nations are going to be set array against Babylon the Great. Okay, and with a collapsing dollar, I believe that that's going to spearhead them to war. Makes a lot of sense because, you know, as the apostle stated, World War III won't be nuclear and global, and it won't really manifest itself until the dollar, until the MOTB is fully established. And that makes sense as to why they will shoot missiles on this place, is because the failing of the dollar. Okay, and a lot of nations getting caught up in the influx of influence that this place has harbored upon them. So we there, but we ain't there yet. We still got a major prophecy that have to come to pass first. But the Most High is building up the tensions of these nations. So therefore, when the dollar collapses and the MOTB is instituted eventually, there will already be conflict among these nations. And that would just add insult to injury so they can shoot missiles. It's common sense once you think about it, okay? So it says, Israel at height of battle with Gaza militants, Netanyahu. We call them Netanyahu JOO, if you know what that means, okay? It says hundreds of projectiles were fired across the border in the ongoing escalation. But Israel's bombing campaign against the Palestinian minister in Gaza is not over. It says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, you know what, or Netanyahu JOO, said on Wednesday, denying reports that the Egyptian brokered ceasefire. It says the campaign is not over yet, but we will get through this together and we will win together. So right there shows you that they're planning on taking shit to the next level. And like I say, you have to keep your eyes on Israel, man. That's where all the conflict comes from. This whole Ukrainian nonsense, all of it is springing from the small hats, man. Because all wars are bankers' wars, as we know. Okay, so once again, keeping your eyes on the small hat. They're the ones that's going to kick this off, and which is going to lead America into World War III to be totally destroyed. Okay, because once they go to war with Iran and America makes that invasion to those borders, Russia is going to be there to stop them. That was the whole point of setting up U.S. NATO forces along the Ukrainian-Russian border, because hey, they needed to somehow, some way get Iran, and if they get into the land of Iran and they invade that with the help of the Israelis, then that's when shit gonna hit the fan. But we know that certain prophecies have to come to pass first and foremost before they become a thing. All right, so let's go here to the book of Amos 1, and I'm gonna start at verses 3. It says, thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have threshed Gilead with threshing instruments of iron. Okay, and when you think of iron, this is going into war. Okay, nuclear weapons. Okay, it says, but I will send fire into the house of Hazael, which shall devour the places of Benadab, and I will break also the bar of Damascus, which the bars goes into the defense systems. It says, and cut off the inhabitants from the plain of Aven, in that which holdeth the scepter of the house of Eden. And the people of Syria should go into captivity into curse, says the Lord. But thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. So the Most High have alt with these nations that took over our land, man. Okay, starting from you Edomites first and foremost. You see, it says the whole captivity. And who is the captivity? The Israelites. It says carried away the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. But I will send fire on the wall of Gaza, and shall devour the places thereof. And I will cut off the inhabitants from Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter of Ashkelon. And I will turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, says the Lord, man. And it gets good. Verses 9. It says, for thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they... No, I think I read that already. Salakia. It says, for thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, which perpetual goes into everlasting, or long intense hatred. It says, and they kept wrath forever, man. But I will send fire upon Teman, which shall devour the palaces of Basra. And Basra is a prominent city in Edom, and your modern day Basra is America, man. So the Most High have a judgment against all these nations that partook in taking down our people. And that's the reason that these wars and riots and all types of shit is happening on the planet Earth, for the controversy of Zion. Okay. Joel 3, and I'm going to start at verses 4. It says, yea, and what will ye have to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, in the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And it says, and if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily would I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things, okay, which is the Israelites. It says, and there the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem you have sold into the Grecians, that ye may move them far from their border. But behold, I will raise them out of the place where ye have sold them, and return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabeans, okay, which when you look up the word Sabean, it goes into the people of the southern South Arabia. Okay, which is Ishmaelites, and then you had some Hamites that dwelled among the land as well, among those Ishmaelites. Now, when you look it up in definite, it says the people of Sheba, which if you go to 1 Kings, the 10th chapter, it goes into the queen of Sheba, which we know was the Ethiopian or Cushite, which the Hebrew word for Cush is Kawash. Okay, so the Most High have all against these nations, you Ishmaelites, okay, you Hamites, mainly you Hamites. Okay, because hey, you partook in the taking down of our people as well. Okay, and it says here, and proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war and wake up the mighty men, and let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up and beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say I am strong. Okay, harming nations, North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Syria. You know, these smaller nations among the the smaller nations among these that's being backed by these superpowers like Russia, okay? They're going to back Syria. They're going to back Iran, you know, Ethiopia, the smaller nations, you know, North Korea, etc. Smaller nations making big threats to Babylon. And it says, and assemble yourselves and come ye all ye heathen and gather yourselves together round about. Did the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the weak heathen be awakened and come up into the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is the Middle Eastern region. Okay, it means the Lord's judgment, Yahweh Shaphat. Okay, the Hebrew word Armageddon means troops or mountain of troops. It says, for there I will sit there to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, because this is basically a big ambush. Like we saw earlier, there was 300,000 NATO troops. Okay, you got over a fucking million Chinese troops, man. It's getting big. It's getting real. These nations are assembling together for war. Okay, this is the Lord assembling these nations to judge them afar off, because he's basically a big ambush. He's getting them all over to this Middle Eastern region, and then they're going to fight war. Okay, they're going to shoot rockets. They're going to shoot missiles. Those missiles are going to fly over here to the west and totally decimate this land. But in the midst of that, Yahweh Shai is going to come back in the midst of a destroyed, chaotic world, man. And he's going to put an end to this wickedness. And he's going to judge them round about. Okay? And you can read about that in Revelation, the 12th chapter. 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Revelation, the 19th chapter. Okay? Isaiah 63. Isaiah 34. Jeremiah 49. Okay? 50 and 51. But it says, put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. And a sickle is like a threshing instrument. It says, and come get ye down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, and that wickedness is great. But multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. And the sun and the moon should be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw of Salaki, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord also shall war out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel, because shit, that's our defense. Okay, outside of the spiritual power, that's our defense there. We have no army but the angels and Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. That's it. We don't have any UN-led troops that's going to fight for us. We don't have that. But Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is going to come and fight for us, man. The army's from above. It's going to get real, bro. It's going to be a crazy battle, man. And I pray that I'm here to see it. Because the scriptures say, blessed is he that liveth to see the downfall of his enemy. It says, so ye should know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there should no strangers pass through her anymore. You heathens, you ain't going to get our land anymore. You're not going to set up shop on our land and claim it as yours. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with water, and the fountain shall come forth from the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. And Egypt should be a desolation, America, and Edom should be a desolate wilderness, you Edomites, in America, because Edom, modern Basra, America, for the violence against the children of Judah, slavery, and to this day, systematic slavery, okay, the persecuting of our people unjustly. All this is happening because of what he's done to us. For the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah should dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed. For the Lord dwelleth in Zion. Okay, so the point is, this war is the war to end all wars, man. And hey, shit getting ready to turn up. So hey, keep your eyes glued on the so-called Middle East and watch them gutter rats, man. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. And with that, Shalom and a Baba Shalom.